Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be ranking all 97 brawlers in the game from the very worst all the way up to the very best in a tier list. So I've been taking a lot of data from scrims, playing ranked a ton myself, get into pro, and just in general, I feel like I've got a really good understanding of the meta. So this tier list will be very detailed, and make sure you guys are subscribed and just giving support to this video because it takes a long time to do a tier list in general. But I think this is pretty solid, and there's not really too many brawlers that should surprise you inside of this one. So let's just jump off and go into the FT events. So I will say straight away, but I've not got gameplay with every single brawler. It'll take me forever, and if you guys want the tier list to be delayed even longer, then yeah, I'd have to do gameplay for every single brawler. But anyways, let's start off in the FT events. So these brawlers are absolutely terrible right now and pretty much unusable. I mean, there will be literally the very odd situation where it'll work. And the first brawler is Rosa. So I think Rosa probably is the worst brawler inside of the game, just because there isn't really many places to use her. Very limited range. And yeah, even with like a max meta, even when Sandy's been meta, Rosa's not been any good recently. Jessie is the same. Jessie just really lacks the damage, really inconsistent, really easy to juke main attack. But again, low trophies, she will be pretty solid, but pro players never play Jessie, and the same goes for Colt as well. Colt isn't really even usable inside of Heist. I think the only niche situation for Colt is when the enemy's gone like a Chuck, and then you can go Colt like on bridge too far maybe. That's probably about it for that pure damage on the safe. Surge is also in the F tier as well. I think at maximum he's lowest of the D tier. He's just not that good at all. He's so squishy, doesn't really output that much damage. His hypercharge isn't that great, and the pros never use Surge, and when they do, they lose with him. So he's terrible. And the last brawler in the F tier is Bonnie. So I was a little bit too kind with her in my previous tier list. I should have just put her in the D tier, but I'm going to put her in the F tier. I think she's absolutely horrible. That nerf absolutely killed Bonnie beyond belief. It just takes forever to get her super. It just makes her such an easy kill because she can never actually get pressure, because it takes 5 shots at least, maybe even 6 without the epic gear to get your super. So it literally killed her. So now we're going to be moving on to the D tier event. So the D tier brawlers, again, these brawlers can obviously work. In Brawl Stars, a lot of brawlers can work. Pretty much all of them can work, but they're in the D tier because they're just very off meta and there's just way better options. So to begin with, Bo is probably the least used brawler in scrims that I've noticed in the past month, I would say, and that is just because it's just very lackluster. When his main attack doesn't hit that well, that means just his super isn't as appealing, if that makes sense. I mean, in Heist, he's kind of lost his niche. It just doesn't win any 1 versus 1s, and Bo has to be one of the worst brawlers in the game easily. Mandy has absolutely been killed with the hypercharge nerf. I anticipated it, but not this bad. The pros are hating Mandy, and even myself, I just hate Mandy because even with her hypercharge, she can't one-shot brawlers anymore with her hypercharge super, which is a good thing because I didn't want Mandy's hypercharge to be a good team wipe machine on skillful. Like, I just hate Mandy as a brawler. So this is the worst Mandy's ever been in the meta by far. And Mr. P as well. He got a super charge rate nerf, which effectively killed him in the competitive meta. I imagine his numbers are still pretty decent in the mid trophy range, or whatever you want to call it, mid ladder. Yeah, but Mr. P is absolutely killed in pro play. Same goes with Fang. Fang is never used in pro play. Again, there is an odd instance where as a late pick, he can be good in shooting star or into snipers, but that's about it. Clancy, I do like Clancy when you need a tank counter, but it's a very niche situation when it's like open business or a hot zone map, and then Clancy will work as a late pick, but then I'd rather just go another tank counter like Lou or something to give me some control. Jackie, since that health nerf not too long ago, just absolutely killed her. You don't really see her. The only time you see Jackie is to counter Shade. Shelly as well. Again, I don't think I really ever see a Shelly. There's maybe like 1 map or knockout where she can be okay. Outside of that, just far too risky. Poco as well is absolutely terrible. So you'd think that Poco would counter Byron and Ollie in this type of meta, or even a previous meta, but I just don't really see too much Poco. He just doesn't really provide too much value, and he's just too easy to take down. His kit overall isn't as rewarding as other support brawlers. Ems as well. Ems can be a little bit underrated, but I think because Tara fell off, Ems actually used to be good into Tara and gem grab, and pros you would use Ems a little bit, and you've just seen her pick rate drop because Tara's dropped. Yeah, she's just not that great. Grom, you know what to deal with Grom. He's only good as a late pick and knockout, just too easy to dodge his main attack. Same goes to Maisie as well, even with several buffs every single update. It just seems Maisie just never really that good. I mean, again, if you're looking for a pure tank counter out there, then she can be safe, but I think it's too too risky for the reward you get. Pearl received a big buff, and I thought this actually bring Pearl back to the meta quite a fair bit, but I think, yeah, she's just still not that good. I think the problem with Pearl is that her maximum damage just isn't actually that frightening anymore. So yes, she can get full heat quicker, but no one's going to be scared of her gadget. It's just, she's very predictable and just easy to counter. Spike as well is in an alarming state right now. I think Spike just doesn't do anything. It actually does nothing, and that's sad to see. He is literally one of the, you know, he's Supercell's golden boy when you think about it, and he's in the D tier, so he needs some love. BB is a funny one because I actually like BB as an off-meta pick, especially into Hank, for example. That's where you're going to see it in the World Finals. You'll see a bit of BB and like Gem Grab to counter Hank or Heist maybe, but outside of that, she's not really usable. Same goes to Sam as well. Sam has a good kind of off-meta pick into Hank, which might see in World Finals, but that's really about it for him because it takes forever to get his Hypercharge. Primo, again, you will see him a little bit more in World Finals because of the map pool. Super Beach, for example, he's really good there. But in the ranked meta, you don't really see too much Primo, and he's only usable if you're just guaranteed to face off against tanks, which isn't as prevalent in this meta. Chuck, he's in the high D tier because he's very good in high still, but he's just unusable everywhere else. And then finally we have Leon. So Leon, again, I think he's a tiny bit underrated. You will see the odd play of him in Knockout and Bounty right now, but again, in terms of his pick rate and use rates, it's just so low. Guys, now we're going to be moving on to your C tier brawlers. So C tier brawlers are just a bit worse than average, and they probably need like a small buff to become meta, but they still have their game modes and use cases for sure. So first off, we have Edgar. So I really think the Star Powers buff definitely did help him out, mainly the Fisticuffs one. And I've seen a few pros use him as like a late pick and knockout. I've seen him used in heist, but I still think there's just better options. It just takes, like, if you mess up your super once, that's the biggest problem with Edgar. Then you're just completely screwed because you have to wait so long for your super to charge up. Lola, funny enough, a lot of pros are starting to use Lola a lot more, but I just think that's because she's like a safe pick in terms of your draft. Like, she can be good into a lot of things. She's good in heist and just good on those more open maps, but I'm still thinking that Lola just doesn't really possess the power that she once used to have. Dynamite, I could have easily put Dynamite in the D tier, but again, because he's a good counter to Hank and he's still a good late pick if you're a good Dynamite, he can still make things work, but he could easily be D tier because that Hypercharge damage nerf really did kill Dynamite. He just doesn't possess the power that he used to have. Eve as well. Eve is one of the least used brawlers in scrims right now. That's probably because of the map pool. So I'm putting her in C tier because she's a brawler you pick when like Angelo's banned and you just need that kind of safe brawler in heist. It's just literally heist, Kaboom Canyon, Safe Zone, and Bridge to Far. If those maps just weren't in the rank pool, should be absolutely terrible and unusable. So these maps are literally saving her right now. Colette is still in the C tier. I just don't think Colette's even good in heist right now. She's just not that good as a tank counter. I mean, if you're facing off against 2 or 3 tanks, you probably will get some value out of Colette. But that's about it. Very, very rare pick for me. Sprout's actually got better in the meta thanks to a lot of the assassins getting nerfed, so you started to see him reappear in Knockout and Bounty, and seeing him actually used a little bit earlier on as well because people are just picking more throwers. So Sprout is good into other throwers, if that makes sense, and snipers as well with Knockout and Bounty. Miko's actually being used a fair bit in terms of scrims right now. Miko is a great brawler inside of heist. He's really good in Knockout, and I feel like that's a strategy a lot of people are kind of hiding, and you might see a lot more in the World Finals. You always see like Toxic Lotus use Miko because you compare it with like a kit, or it's just really good into those squishy brawlers if played correctly, but you need to be really disciplined. Buzz is actually a funny one because I feel like Buzz can be a decent brawler on like sneaky fields or in certain situations, but he's only good as a counter pick in my opinion, so that's why he has to easily be C tier. Same goes with Mortis as well. He can be a very dangerous last pick, of course he can. Everyone knows that Mortis is very dangerous with his Hypercharge, but that's about it. And you need low ping or else he just will be unusable. Nita in the C tier, so Nita is definitely dropping down the tiers a lot. But Nita can still work, especially in heist or as a counter to brawlers like Ali, or like if you want to use your bear for like offensive pressure, then she can be really good. She still charges her super and Hypercharge very fast, so I think she's still C tier, but it's just better options. Bullet is starting to drop down since his rework. I think he's starting to get a little bit more outclassed, a little bit more predictable, but he's a great counter to other tanks as well, so you see that a lot in like Brawl. In heist, he's only really good on base race maps, and I still think there's better actual like tank and assassin brawlers for heist, you know, like Kaze, for example, Lily. So yeah, it's starting to just drop overall in the meta. 8-bit as well. 8-bit, I don't know, 8-bit just seems a little bit too easy to kill right now. You'd think with the meta being a lot more balanced that you'd see a lot more 8-bit in heist or even gem grab, but I don't know, you're just not seeing 8-bit. I might anticipate him getting a bit better because Pam is becoming very meta, and normally 8-bit's a good counter to Pam, so I'm not yet to actually see him increase because of that, but maybe that's like a prediction. I'll see. Maybe he'll be B tier once World Finals hits. Frank is a very underrated one because inside of Hot Zone, he's a very good counter pick to like Hank or just a lot of tanks right now. So Hot Zone's kind of his niche. There's a few other instances as well where he can work as like a late pick. So yeah, I feel like Frank's underrated. He isn't as bad as people make out for sure. Lou as well. Lou is dropping in the meta a lot. His win rates just aren't good, and you only see Lou as, again, like a late pick to counter multiple aggressive ideas in Hot Zone. You don't really see him in Brawl anymore. I don't know what's happened with Lou. He's just fallen down dramatically, and I think it's just too risky. His main attack is still pretty hard to hit, even though the reload speed got buffed some time ago. It's just getting worse and worse, sadly. Daryl is another brawler. Again, since his rework, he was like always S tier, and then he just drops and drops and drops. This is mainly because I feel like his hyper charge just isn't that great, gets no value, so he's going to fall down. He's still like a good late pick and knockout and in a few heist maps, but I'd still just rather go other brawlers than a Daryl right now. Griff is absolutely C tier right now, so I have this pain point in every single tier list I do. Griff is just not good. He's not good. It takes too long to break open the maps right now. He's just too inconsistent. His main attack is too easy to juke out, and his super doesn't even have that much power. His hypercharge takes a long time to charge up as well, but the reason why he's like at the top of C tier is literally because of his wall break, because at least you can pair it with some good anti-tanks and you can counter brawlers just literally because of his gadgets. So I don't think that Griff is that great. Rico, it depends on the Rico. It depends who's literally on the Rico, because, you know, if Chaos is on the Rico, it's going to be S tier, or no, not even that. I just think a good Rico on like Bell's Rock, Harder Up Mine, and a few other maps can pop off, but he's far too risky for me, and I feel like his gadget just doesn't possess the power. So yeah, he's easily C tier. Chester is a funny one. So I was actually tempted to put Chester in the low B tier because pros are realizing that he's just a fairly consistent pick right now, because a lot of Brawlers hypercharges did get big nerfs, and Chester's, I would say, didn't really receive a nerf if you think about it, because his hypercharge will still possess a lot of power. So he's just like a good brawler to just scout with on maps like Undermine, Double Swoosh, Brawl maps like Center Stage, etc. So he can be a fairly decent brawler. Tick as well is just getting overrun too much. I mean, with Tick, there's just too many counters to him currently, with like Jae Young, with Gray, Brock opening up the walls, Max, you know, you got Mina at the top of the meta. There's just too much brawlers that can get too much pressure against Tick and overwhelm him. You know, Hank compositions as well in Knockout and Bounty. So how is Tick supposed to get the value when there's just all of these aggressive ideas? And then lastly, Penny. So I wanted to put Penny in the B tier, I really did, but I still feel like she really lacks the damage to keep up with a meta. But I will say she's a great last pick in Hot Zone, a few heist maps as well. So she's definitely pickable again in the meta. So now we're going to be moving on to your B tier brawlers. So B tier brawlers are just a bit better than average, but they can be good on multiple maps and modes. And the first brawler is going to be Piper. So Piper is a bit of a funny one, because if you look at pro data, she would easily be like a C tier in my opinion, especially because the meta is not really in her favor. When you think of high mobility brawlers, Max, Jae Young, Mina, just not that great. Again, you know, Gray as well, like, can be a good counter to Piper. Obviously gets a teleport. Nanny, again, that damage buff not really being that great. Piper's not great into them. So yeah, she's just not being used that much in practices. So, but as a Piper, if you're able to tap, you can make a big difference on the map still. Janet is next, and Janet, again, has got worse in the meta, because Janet was used as a mid in gem grab because she could defend herself against hypercharged brawlers with her gadget, with her super. But now with like all of these hypercharged brawlers getting nerfed, she's not really needed for that, if that makes sense. But she's still like a good like, she's an okay brawler on those bushy maps, but I do anticipate her being like a C tier brawler now. Meg is next, and Meg, again, in terms of the data, it won't look that great, but with Meg, she's a tournament brawler, and when it matters most, you know, Meg's a safe brawler in draft, in Hot Zone, and a few knockout situations. So I feel like people are sleeping on the Meg. Kenji's a little bit of a weird one, so I'm excited to see how much he's played in World Finals, because the data in scrims is not looking good for Kenji whatsoever. I think just more brawlers get better value quicker, if that makes sense. But a good Kenji player can make a lot of pressure on the map. So yeah, he's kind of in this situation of, I think last World Finals where people will underrate him and probably get played a lot. Draco, again, I wanted to make Draco C tier. I really did, guys, but his hyper charge is still pretty good, and he's still good in hot zone. But he just doesn't possess the power that he used to have, mainly because of that speed nerf. I think the speed nerf, even was it 5%, really did hurt Draco. So I anticipate him being high C tier, low B tier. Kit as well. So Kit, personally, I would put Kit straight in like the C tier. Maybe, well, yeah, I'd say C tier because Kit's hyper charge is still good. But Pros is playing a lot of Kit, so I don't know whether this is like a double bluff in scrims. This is why I can't take scrims too serious, guys, because Pros are just trying a lot of different things. And with Kit, people might just be going Kit for the reason of, okay, we see a team's going a lot of Kit. We can't go a certain type of brawler. We can't go control if this team just plays infinite Kit. So that's like a strategy that some teams do. Does that make sense? So you can't always rely on scrim data. You've got to use some common sense as well. Because when I play Kit, it just feels horrible. I think the supercharge rate nerf, you just can't change supers like you used to be able to. I don't know, I just don't like Kit too much personally. And then next up we've got Doug. So Doug is super underrated, I feel. Knockout and bounty, there's so many cheesy strategies that you can go with. You think in a control meta, these brawlers don't have the damage to kill Doug and his healing strategies, and you compare it with a Grey, and Grey is very prevalent in the meta. You can get other aggressive ideas, so Doug is very good in these particular game modes, and I think you might see a bit more Doug in the World Finals. Willow is next, so Willow is one that I've always said that's overrated, and finally people are clinging, like, believe in me, because I don't know why people were putting Willow in the A tier just magically, because yeah, you can first pick her on like Pinball Dreams, Triple Dribble, and a few maps like that, but you're gonna put yourself in a bad situation because when there's like, you just got other throwers to counter Willow. Like maybe they're not as good into like aggressive ideas like Willow, but you know, like Larry and Laurie, Barley, Juju, you can just go with these brawlers and just easily beat Willow in a 1v1, and then yeah, so be it. I just don't think Willow's that great as people were making out, but I think, yeah, I'll take a low B tier. And then next for Twins. So for Twins, again, in this more control meta, I still think they've pretty much stayed the same. They've stayed stagnant, even with the hypercharge. The hypercharge isn't that great, and it takes forever to get, so they're like a solid B tier option, but any map where throws are good, the Twins are going to be pretty good. Nanny, B tier as well. I feel like Nanny's an underrated one. I think in the pro map pool, there's not a lot of good Nanny maps, but in rank there is. And I feel like Nanny's actually really good in like heist secretly now because of the supercharge rate buff. Really good in knockout and bounty again, so I think Nanny's definitely back in the meta, and it could be like a high B tier or a low A tier. Unpopular opinion, honestly. B, I think B again, gone through periods where she's underrated, and now she's starting to find her feet again because she's like a great pick on like maps like Ring of Fire. There's a few maps where there's just a lot of B because you can never really go wrong with what damage output she puts out. Stu as well. Stu isn't meta enough right now because he just has low damage and it takes a while to get his hypercharge, but he's still like a decent option. You can still go to Stu. Like a good Stu will get a lot of pressure on the map, and that can win you games. And you can break open the map, which can counter a lot of different brawlers. And next we've got Barley. So Barley is a great brawler when it comes down to hot zone, and his numbers are pretty nice. You know, he's good in a few heist maps as well. He's a great counter to Berry and a few other cheesy compositions. So yeah, Barley's a great brawler right now in the meta. Same goes with Brock as well. I really love Brock when it comes to knockout and bounty because you can never really go wrong with it. Yes, if there's like a Nanny or a Piper, he might struggle, but he's like, Piper isn't the most meta right now. And like a disciplined Brock can still make things work, especially if you break open the map. There's just infinite possibilities with his wall break gadget. Berry is next, so Berry is a funny one. I always put Berry like low A tier most of the time, but after speaking to Semantic, I think he feels like Berry just isn't as good as it used to be, especially last World Finals. It's just harder to get value with Berry right now. So yeah, Berry, I think it's like middle B tier brawler. Next we've got Tara. So Tara has definitely fallen down the meta quite a bit. I mean, she's still really good in Gem Grab, and she's still, fun enough, good in like Kaboom Canyon and a few other instances, but it just takes that bit extra to get her first super, and that just means you can defeat Tara a little bit easily. So with Buster as well, I'm just finding Buster to be less of an option right now in the meta. I mean, there are like some knockout cheesy strategies, there are some like matchups in Double Swoosh and a few other maps where Buster can still be good, but for the most part, I don't know, it's just better aggressive ideas. RT as well. RT can be paired pretty well. Again, RT's kind of like a tournament brawler where if you're really good with him, you can still compete against other snipers, and then you compare it with like a Jean or another brawler that can just get some good damage. But I don't know, RT's just not really that usable. outside of maybe like a defender instead of Heist against a Miko or a Lily or something like that. Trunk is next, so Trunk is always underrated in my eyes. Trunk has so many good use cases. And another brawler which I feel like when tournament day happens, when World Finals hits, you know, see Sergeant on the Trunk, and just other brawlers, you know, Harder Up Mine, Hot Potato is really good. Like, there's going to be a few maps where Trunk will just be very, very strong. So it's very matchup dependent. You can only play it like later on in the draft, but I think very underrated thanks to the heal gadget. Sandy as well. Sandy is a fantastic brawler inside of Gem Grab, and that's really about it right now. So probably got a little bit worse in the meta, and especially with Tara getting worse, Sandy was the best counter Tara, so indirectly a little bit worse off. But on maps like Undermine and a few other situations, Sandy's actually one of the best brawlers there, so high B tier is fair. Melody is next, and Melody, I was considering putting A tier, but Melody's really only usable in Heist for me, but she's definitely back in the Heist meta, so she's definitely got better thanks to all of the other brawlers getting nerfed. So and especially if you see side tampo on a Melody, you might believe she's a bit better. She can be used as a mid sometimes, believe it or not, in Gem Grab or just a late pick in general. So yeah, I think she's low A tier or high B tier. Lumi as well, the data isn't looking that great for Lumi, I'm not gonna lie, and I probably could have overrated her a little bit, but I don't want to be too harsh. She's like high C tier or middle of the pack B tier for me, because Lumi's still good as a counter to like certain tanks. I think that's the main reason you use Lumi. She's still good on Hot Zone, so she's more of like a later pick, because if you pick her up earlier, you know, her range is definitely going to be easily countered. So yeah, people are starting to see the limitations for Lumi, but she's still a solid brawler in my eyes. Gale is next, so in the pro meta, I think he is a low A tier brawler because of maps like, I think, is it Pinhole Punt? Can't remember. There's like a square grass map that's really good for Gale. There's a couple of other maps where Gale just really works. So I think he's high B tier, low A tier. That's pretty fair for him because of the supercharged rate buff that he got. It just allows him to get into those 1 versus 1 matchups and win them a lot easier now. So Gale is definitely back in the meta. Charlie's another solid one where she's just overall decent into a lot of different things. So Spider's gadgets can help her against those snipers. Her super can defend herself against those tanks. But most of the time there's a better option, but she's still a solid brawler overall. And then we move on to the two newest brawlers. So let's go into detail about these then. So with Gigi and Ziggy. So Gigi, I think, is definitely underrated. People definitely... But a lot more people were saying she's going to be trash than good, funny enough. So with Gigi, I think there's a few like interactions that we're going to be putting out a guide which will help you realize the potential of her. I think the biggest downfall with her, she hasn't got a hypercharge yet, whilst every other brawler has a hypercharge. But there's a lot of broken interactions with her super. But it depends. I've not really played her in ranked yet because she's not out. So it's a little bit hard to tell with this type of brawler how good she'll be, because it kind of reminds me of a Shade and those types of brawlers where it's a little bit hard to figure out where she's going to be good in the meta. But I just know that she's fairly decent because of that super. Her super is so good. And the same with Ziggy. So Ziggy, you know, I put my hands up. At first, I definitely did say he wasn't the best. But after realizing, after the meta shifting a lot, I was quick to realize that he was a good brawler. Whilst other creators were putting Ziggy in the F tier or even the worst brawler in the game, I think that's just crazy to say because his super and his gadget are so busted, guys. So that's why he's so good. You've seen a lot of pro teams play a lot of Ziggy. So as long as either you're playing him later on in a draft or you're playing him and then picking a tank counter, Ziggy is really good. It's a very controlled meta. So Ziggy is very, very good in Hot Zone, Knockout, Bounty because of his super. His super can just control so much of the map. And if you're throwing out your super, even if you're not hitting anyone, you're forcing the opponents to go in a certain way. So that just means, you know, it's just a movable lose super when you think about it. So it's going to be a lot easier to hit those teammates, even if your super isn't dealing any damage to the enemies. Even if your super's doing no damage to them, you're just going to be able to, you know, get them boxed in a lot easier. It just makes complete sense, complete control. I think Ziggy is such an underrated brawler, and his gadget, like I mentioned, just deals so much damage. It's crazy. It's so broken. So Ziggy's easily high B tier, low A tier. Now we're going to be moving on to your A tier brawlers. So these brawlers are pretty much the best of the best, and they're going to be so good in multiple game modes. And we're starting off with Ashe. So the data isn't looking that good with Ashe, but I believe that Ashe is a really solid tank. I just don't know how to use him personally, but I think he's very solid, a good counter to brawlers like Hank and a few other matchups like a Gus, for example. So I think Ashe is in a solid state. Ali is next, so I think I overrated Ali a little bit in terms of the meta, but I still think she's solid. She's just more of a last pick brawler, and the thing about Ali is that she can kill the brawlers like Ruffs really quickly. All of these control brawlers, Ali will just have a field day on, so she's easily A tier. and I think the pros will be liking playing her a lot in the World Finals. Amber, you can't really remove from the A tier because she's just so consistent in terms of damage output. She's really good in Heist mainly and Hot Zone. Those are going to be 2 gamers where you use the Amber. Any map with a bunch of grass as well, Amber's going to get a lot of value. So Squeak is absolutely A tier right now. His pick rates are through the roof because of this extra control meta. So you think of a control meta, who's one of the best counters to control in that sense later on in the draft? It's always Squeak, because these control brawlers never have like a dash or just some way to close down Squeak. So if Squeak can constantly close it, like shooting at choke points, how will control brawlers make it out of spawn? They just can't. So Squeak is easily one of the best brawlers. Shade. So again, the pros are loving Shade. I just personally can't get Shade to work, but there are a handful of maps that are much better for Shade in the competitive map pool rather than the rank map pool, like Super Beach, for example. But he's just really good because his hype charge is still pretty easy to farm up. Mo as well. Mo is so good right now. In ranked, I would say he's S tier. Absolutely. He's just good into everything. He's just Mr. Consistent. You can switch star powers. His hype charge is done broken. And the nerf didn't really do anything. It just fixed a bug, if that made sense. Like, I don't think people were actually abusing a bug, but there just was a bug. So yeah, it didn't actually get a nerf. People are just like, oh, he received a nerf. How has he got better? No, it's because the meta around him's got a lot better for him. And he's got a really good hyper charge. He's one of the few brawlers left with a broken hyper charge. Next up we have Finks. So Finks, in terms of the data, is definitely getting worse off. But in Hot Zone, he's still the best brawler. He can still be used as a mid and gem grab, as a lane. His super is still so broken. I mean, it's just all about his super. His super will just guarantee your map control. You basically can't take damage when you have your super available. Ollie is next. So Ollie is one brawler that a lot of people were writing off quite quickly, and I'm proud to say that I thought Ollie would still be a strong brawler, and he is. The data's definitely backing that up. And I just think with Ollie, his hype charge is still broken. In this, well, it takes a long time to get, so technically it's not broken, but once you get it, it's like a free double kill, free kill. And both gadgets are very good with him. It's still just a radius. You just guaranteed to hypnotize someone. Like that ability is just so strong. So for me, Ollie is easily a low A tier or mid of the pack A tier brawler. Lily is next. So Lily, you guys know, Lily's one of the most infuriating brawlers to face off against. I often just ban Lily a lot because the only way to really truly counter Lily is by a lot of like teamwork and coordination, whether you're in voice chat with teammates, etc. If you're just playing ranked with randoms, it's hard to like keep track of her gadgets and where she could be. So yeah, I end up banning her. Vanish gadget broken, her hype charge broken. That's just Lily. Next up, we got Gray. So Gray has gone up the meta a lot thanks to just a lot of cheesy compositions. I think a lot of people are using Gray with Doug. A lot of people are using Gray with Hank in Hot Zone. A lot of people are using Gray with another tank in Jam Grab. The Gray compositions are back, and he's actually low-key like a high 8 brawler right now. And I don't even know what's that's thanks to be honest. I just think the meta, if it's more control based, that probably just allows for more Gray cheesy compositions because tanks can run all over those control brawlers. Next up, we've got Pam. So Pam might be a surprise to you guys. Pam is very good with the hypercharge. So I definitely called her being a lot more meta in Hot Zone, but I didn't really foresee her being as good as she is. Like, I've seen some games where, well, pretty much all the pros are just picking Pam on Hot Zone no matter what. Yeah, I mean, you can counter her a little bit without a hypercharge, but once the hypercharge is down, it's like unstoppable. It really is. You gain so much shield, it's crazy. And in a game mode like Hot Zone, you just sit on the zone and you just win. And she's good in gem grab as well. It's just survivability. If it's like, if it takes you forever to take down a Pam, of course she's going to be good in gem grab and Hot Zone, where the key is to survive and sustain your life. Angelo is next, and Angelo is just really good in the meta. He's not like a S tier, but it's just really solid because like, you can't really go wrong with an Angelo, right? A good Angelo will just always make a difference on the map. You can always switch out your build depending on the matchup, and there's a lot of good maps for Angelo. Any water-based map, Angelo's good. Carl as well. Carl is still really good in the pros hands. In the pro data, he's still really high. Even before, like a couple of metas ago, I was always putting Carl pretty high, even when I had no data available, because he just seems like a really versatile brawler. You can play him in Heist to get some good pressure on maps like Safe Zone, or just using your flying hook to get into uncomfortable positions. And you've got like Bounty to collect the blue star. You've got like maps in Brawl where his fire gadget can be really toxic. Cole's just a really solid brawler right now. Bell as well. You can never go wrong with a Bell, can you? Like, where is Bell bad in? Like, every single map mode, you pretty much can get value out of Bell, weirdly enough. you know, bounty, you can just place the traps down, infinite value. You can use Bell to counter Gene compositions, Jae-Young compositions, to counter Max compositions. So there's a really good use case for Bell still in this meta. Gene is next, so Gene is always one of the best brawlers inside of a game, it feels, and that's mainly because in draft he's just safe to go. There's hardly any brawlers that can tank a Gene pool, so that's why he's really good. He can chip away at snipers really good, he can heal up teammates. He's a very good option to have. Even if you miss every pool like me, he's still going to be a nuisance on the map because your main attack can just stop the opponents from regenerating health, and for that reason he's solid. Cordelius, I will say, he's definitely got a bit worse in the meta, and the nerfs have definitely toned him down a bit because you can't guarantee yourself a kill every single time in the Shadow Realm now. So that's definitely affected him. And the meta around him has definitely affected him. But he's still a really strong brawler, guys. Don't get me wrong. He can still counter a lot of cheesy compositions. Gus is next. So Gus is just, again, safe pair of hands. You can never really go wrong with a Gus right now. In the control meta, tanks would often, well, in other metas, tanks would often ride a Gus. But in a control meta, it can be a lot more safer to go Gus because, yeah, there's hardly anything to worry about. He's just consistent. You guys know the deal with Gus. Same goes with Jae-Young as well. So the Jae-Young nerf, I thought, did impact him a lot. The pros are still going a lot of Jae-Young. Me personally, I'm finding it a lot easier to counter Jae-Young with other snipers and whatever else. I'm just finding his unload speed, it's a little bit harder for him to, you know, constantly spam the speed, but his damage gadget is still really good and he can catch off snipers really well. So yeah, I just think he's like a really just solid brawler overall. Byron as well, you can never really go wrong with a Byron. His gadget is very annoying to constantly cycle through supers. His hypercharge is still pretty annoying. He's just really versatile. It's Byron. In ranked, he's like the most played brawler overall in the game, I believe, because of how easy he is to hit his main attack. So he's very annoying still in the meta. Crow as well. Crow is still pretty high in the pro data, and that's because he's just good into everything. Crow is. He's just solid. He's got a decent amount of health. You know, he can be a good hot zone brawler. He can be a good gem grab, mid, even lane as well. Scout bushes. And what do you even go to counter Crow? It's just really hard to kill this brawler. He's very annoying and very toxic. And lastly, we have Max. So the pros do love Max a lot, and that's mainly because of the hypercharge buff. You're able just to spam a lot of hypercharges, but with Max you're also just allowed to counter a lot of these control compositions with the speed. You know, really good synergy brawler. So in the pros hands, definitely A tier. In everybody else's hands, probably a bit lower. Alright guys, now we're going to move it on to the S tier brawlers. So these brawlers are the best of the best, and their pick rates, their win rates, whatever, they're just being used a lot in ranked, in pro scrims, everything like that. So Hank is definitely back in the S tier, guys. Hank is so good in this meta. It's insane. So if you take a look at the data, he's the third most picked brawler, I believe, which is just insane. We already saw him start propping up the meta again in LCQ, and that was a couple of months ago. That was even in an aggressive meta, because the reason why is because he pairs really well with a lot of these brawlers at the top of the meta, like Max, like Byron, like Gus, even Jae-Young. There's a lot of support to be had in this meta, great compositions as well. There's so much that can enable a Hank to just be even more toxic. And you know, how is Hank not toxic? He's got a gadget that can tank a lot of damage. He's got his bubble that can just create a lot of pressure. There's hardly any bad matchups for Hank really in this meta. So you can play Hank everywhere. Knockout, bounty, heist in hot potato, for example, pit stop. You can play him everywhere. He's so toxic. Next up, we have Otis. So Otis is very, very good in this meta, guys. And that's thanks to just the pure damage he can put out. He's got a decent amount of range. His super can be good to defend himself, but it's all about just the pure damage that he can output. It's just insane. He's like the best heist brawler in terms of defense. In heist, you always need a defender. Otis is the best one by far. In gem grab, you always need a tank counter. Well, you always go to Otis because he's good at scouting bushes, and he's just outputting so much damage. I mean, do we even need to explain anymore? Everyone knows that Otis is a very strong brawler right now, and it's just hard to really, like, once you get within his range, he just bursts you down so quick. Like, it's just crazy. Next up, we have Ruffs. So Ruffs, even after all of the hypercharge brawlers got a nerf, Ruffs still is very, very good, because with Ruffs, he's just very easy to hit shots with. His main attack, projectile speed got buffed, and you just hit shots no matter what. So if it's just constantly putting out damage, the opponents aren't going to be regenerating health, and his super is going to get built up more. You can break open the map. You can give all your team treats more often. You can give your brawlers your teammates hypercharges more often. Ruffs as well, he's super versatile because in knockout and bounty you can switch to the the more HP star power, which is going to be very toxic as the game goes on. He's just so versatile. and there's only really like a handful of counters out there for him, like Ali, Squeak. That's probably about it. Maybe snipers once the map's opened up, but that's about it. So yeah, Ruffs is very, very toxic, and he's the most played brawler in pro scrims right now, so just going to show how strong he is. Next we have Kaze. So Kaze is another one. She's the second most played brawler in scrims right now, and that is just thanks to her just being a really annoying brawler to face off against. And that's because of her invisibility gadget, just the amount of pressure she can get. Her ninja super is still pretty easy to hit, and it's just all about pressure with Kaze. Just think of how much pressure you can get with her. I think her geisha form is really toxic as well. Like, you can just dash up the map however you want. It's crazy. Heist, she's like the best brawler. Knockout and bounty, she can counter snipers. If you just mess up once, and if you just forget about her invisibility once, she will punish you quite quickly. So easily still a top 5 brawler. So next up, going into the top 3 brawlers in the game, we are starting off at number 3 with Juju. So Juju is just a really painful brawler to face off against. I don't think she's anything crazy broken, but I think because of how reliable she is in the meta, so many maps and modes where Juju is very toxic, and it's thanks to her hypercharge. So her hypercharge just suffocates people. It will guarantee yourself a kill pretty much every single time, and that's because if you use the slow star power on top of this, the pet just shoots so fast, and it can really annoy people, especially those tanks as well. It's a very control meta as well, so there's not really a lot of counters to Juju out there. So yeah, I think in terms of pro data, you're going to see a lot of Juju being banned. To be honest, I've not seen it being played that as much as I would have thought in pro scrims, but I still believe she's an S tier brawler. Absolutely. So yeah, the reason why I was wrong beforehand, guys, because I've literally did the tier list a couple of days in the meta. Okay, I'm going to get things wrong, but at least I own up to it. But Juju just kind of came out of nowhere. I don't think hardly anyone anticipated Juju to be an S tier brawler when the balance changes dropped, right? She didn't receive any buffs. It's just because hypercharge is still so good, and it wasn't affected by the damage nerfs. So now moving into our top 2 brawlers. No surprises again here. First, we have second, we have Meeple. Sorry, so Meeple is just Meeple. Meeple's super annoying. The reason why Meeple's so good is because both gadgets are good. Really consistent damage output. A lot of hypercharge brawlers got nerfed, so you know, you're not having Kit hypercharges jump on a Meeple, you're not having Kenji hypercharges fly, you're not having Ollie jump across the map and team wipe your team instantly every time. So Meeple can now finally defend himself a lot better, and the hypercharge is very broken with Meeple. Super broken. And that's all you need to know about Meeple. Just, you can use Meeple everywhere. You can switch your builds however you want, and makes Meeple the perfect brawler in terms of draft. And now, going into the best brawler in the game, it's still going to be Mina. So you could definitely argue Meeple's case, but I'm still going to say it's Mina because her main attack is probably the biggest problem. You can just get so much pressure with Mina, just dashing up the map, getting consistent damage output. Her super's very toxic, and her gadgets are very strong. And I think the Buster kind of bubble gadget is the better one right now. It is so good and so toxic. You can't defend against it. You just can't. Like, she's going to dash up the map. She pops that bubble. And then what? You're just kind of sitting there just waiting for her to then reappear and dash and dodge and deal so much damage. It's a very toxic combination. And it's the fact that as well, Mina can shoot through that bubble whilst you can't. I mean, there are a few things that can go through the bubble, like a Grapple or a Gene Super. So a few small counters to it. But I think Mina just gets so much pressure on the map. She just seems to be what this brawler that in the right hands can just absolutely dominate. And the pros agree because Mina's banned pretty much everywhere. So that is going to be a tier list on the screen right here. So I'm sorry if it seems a little bit rushed, but with me going on my honeymoon pretty soon and with World Finals appearing pretty fast, I thought if I wanted to do a video this style, the tier list would never come out, guys. It would just never come out because it takes so long to get the gameplay. But I think this is one of my most accurate tier lists for a while, just because of how much teams are preparing for World Finals. I'm really able to see the meta even better than ever because, yeah, the pros are just playing more games than they will the entire year, basically. So, yeah, I think that's a really solid tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. So, again, if you're playing, like, if you're just like a casual player, you probably won't see this tier list like too useful. But if you really want to improve in ranks and get better, you know, use these meta brawlers. Just figure out why the pros are using them so much, and you will be going up in ranks before you know it. So that's going to be it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and see you guys next time.